If there's one thing that this Doctor Who episode has taught me, it's that you can't trust podcasters, Noah, and their deep, dark agenda full of lies and conspiracies
Spoilers.
and murder. So anyway, watch/listen to this episode with caution, because on a bite of, we're talking about Doctor Who Season 2, Episode 4, Lucky Day.
Yeah. Ooh, we're halfway through the season.
Halfway through the season of lies.
Well, I'm Noah. That's Derek. So we're on another Dr. Lite episode. Will this compare to 73 Yards? Who can say?
Us.
We will say.
Mhm.
We will say. Before we get into the episode, make sure you're following us. Make sure you're subscribing. Make sure you're leaving reviews, leaving comments, doing all those fun little things that make sure our episode gets seen by people like you. It helps a lot, and we very much appreciate it. So spoiler alert for all of Vinshuti's run of Doctor Who, and this episode specifically.
Yes, so let us officially take a bite of Doctor Who Season 2, Episode 4, Lucky Day, written by Peter McTeague and directed by Peter Hoare. The Vindicator anchors in 2007, where the Doctor and Belinda bump into a young Conrad Clark. Amazed by what he has seen, Conrad spends his life tracking down the Doctor and eventually finds the one and only Ruby Sunday. Conrad and Ruby grow close, but what seems like a blossoming relationship is actually an evil plot. Or Ruby. Or Ruby. What did you think overall?
Oh, good. I think this episode is very good. I still question having these types of episodes in such a short run of Doctor Who. I like them. Last season, 73 Yards, I thought was amazing. It was one of my favorite episodes. This one, I honestly think is a very good episode of television. Pushed Ruby's story forward a little more, even though we haven't really seen Ruby this season. But also it makes me question, like, do we need or not do we need them, but with such a short run, I don't know. It's more like, can we get to the story? Like, there's still so many questions that we have, and I'm curious if this just almost stops the momentum for the season.
Well, I think that, so if you're comparing this to 73 Yards, it's kind of like a standalone Ruby episode. I thought 73 Yards was more entertaining. It kind of had me more on the edge of my seat. But I didn't think 73 Yards really did anything to progress the plot of that season necessarily. Whereas this one, if I think, they're doing what they're doing, like if I'm correct in that thought, this is really the point where things start going bad and why the Doctor and Belinda can't get back to 2025.
Yeah, I mean, I will say this one, if we're going to compare the 73 Yards and this one, 73 Yards didn't really push the plot as much as this one did, especially in the end, because we have a new villain and we have another mysterious figure kind of taking that villain into the fold in some capacity. So there is stuff that is setting up. I agree, but I don't know. It's just more of like, where's the Doctor? We can have episodes without it. But I will say, if this is like a soft pilot for a unit episode, or if the Land and the Sea spinoff series is going to be anything like of this caliber, I'm very excited for that.
That is totally what it also felt like to me. Like they were testing a spinoff series. And, it's always funny when they do stuff like that because they try and like sneak it in. It's like when parents try to sneak vegetables into their kids' meals. It's like we're enjoying it, but we know something's off.
Yeah.
They're trying to do something else here.
It's not as bad as when Stranger Things try to do a spinoff in the middle of their season.
Yeah. 80s kids with power.
Yeah. So overall, I really like this episode. I think the twists, there was a few twists in here where genuinely I did not know that they were going to happen. So that was a fun surprise. But I think the biggest thing here is Ruby, right? I was so excited to have Belinda and Ruby finally meet and interact. Unfortunately, we didn't get that in this episode. So that's my expectation that was not met. That's not on the show. But I really can't wait for them to meet. Can we just have like a third series with all three of them traveling? I would love that so much.
That would be really cool. So Ruby had her solo episode last season, And now Ruby has a solo episode this season, but Belinda doesn't seem like it doesn't seem like she's going to get a solo episode.
Mm-mm.
That to me seems unbalanced and unfair.
Well, I do think this season is still doing some weird parallels with the first season. Again, I don't know if that's intentional or not, but it is interesting that we're seeing parallels again through the season.
Mm.
Specifically with Ruby Sunday, I always find it really fascinating when we catch up with companions after the Doctor has left their lives. And, a lot of times in Doctor Who, the saddest thing isn't necessarily when the companion dies, because a lot of times the companion doesn't necessarily die. It's more the death of the friendship, which is just equally as sad because we know we're not going to see these people again. So when we do see them, like in this case for Ruby, we can see how the time with the Doctor has changed them for the good or the bad. And picking up with Ruby here and seeing how she almost feels a little lost, but she has some PTSD with traveling with the Doctor, with the world ending. I think she said in this episode that, she saw everything turn to dust and she hasn't really processed that. I think she's always still waiting to hear the TARDIS and to be swept away again.
Yeah, that's it almost seems one of the dangerous things of being a companion of the Doctor is, well, first, you might die, but you go through a lot of trauma. And then he kind of says goodbye to you and he keeps going on his adventures and living that life. And you're left to your own devices, basically. And I think we really see that here with Sunday. And I think with Ruby Sunday, because something else that I think we need to talk about with Ruby is that she's constantly being left by people, right? She obviously has an issue of abandonment with her bio mother. And granted, they've been reunited at this point, but that was really her main thing throughout the whole first season, was trying to figure out who her mother is. And so she once again is being abandoned by someone she loves, and again with really no way to contact them. And so being through wars, having lived an entire life in 73 yards and all these different things, it's really left her kind of in shambles. And I think that's a very realistic portrayal of someone who's gone through these things.
I will say it was very nice to see Jerry and Carla again, and Louise thrown into the mix now, which is just lovely to see Ruby's extended family and immediate family of different sorts kind of hang out together. It's just so, I don't know. I didn't know how much I missed them until I saw them. So I wish they were more of a regular on this. That's why I really want, just Ruby, can you come back? You were gone too quickly. I need all of you back.
Well, I don't know. Will she be in the unit spinoff if they do one, or do you think she'll just jump back in the TARDIS?
I don't know. Maybe. I mean, we don't really know much about the last 2 episodes of this season. So I'm hoping that she will come through and she'll be with our current companion and Doctor, but it's really for us to see. I think this episode was really fucked up in what it did. So we meet Conrad, which we meet him in 2007 when he's a child. We see that his mother's an alcoholic and she hits him a little bit. So he's going through his own thing, but he runs into the Doctor and Belinda and he's just fascinated by that, right? He kind of becomes maybe obsessed with it. Maybe it's the thing that could take him away from his home situation, but he never saw the Doctor again. And I think seeing these 2 people, Conrad and Ruby went with the Doctor and we see the side effects of that. Conrad never got to go with the Doctor, and we see the side effects of that. So I think it's an interesting kind of character study with both of them on like how one side can go way far this way and the other one needs some healing and some time to themselves and not waiting to hear that TARDIS noise.
Yeah, it's so interesting the effect that the Doctor has on people. It's like whether you're with him or you're not with him, you become obsessed with him and what he can do.
Hence this podcast.
And here we are, another 2 victims of the Doctor. I think for Conrad, he was looking for an escape. He was looking for a way to get out of the life that he was living. And unfortunately, he was left wanting. And so he really dedicates his life to trying to figure out what's going on. But somehow that turns into him not believing in the Doctor or not thinking it's true. And so it's like it takes a weird turn for Conrad.
Yeah, so the biggest twist in this episode is finding out that Conrad, while being obsessed and kind of luring Ruby in with the photo that he took of them when the Doctor and Ruby were doing their adventures, and then turning in pretty much doing this elaborate prank on Unit and Ruby and just I mean, they were dating for weeks. And like Ruby, you hear from like her whole family unit, like, oh, you haven't had a boyfriend. Finally, you have somebody else and everything. They were so happy for her. And then for that to be completely shattered and it was a lie is devastating. But I think it shows that Conrad, he was abandoned probably multiple times and he maybe just felt jealous and slighted by the doctor. Like, why Ruby? Why did Ruby get to go do that? Why is Belinda getting to do that? Why can't I do that? What made me not so special? The doctor spent time to give him a 50p and was like, it's your lucky day. But then he got smacked by his mother and he left him. So like, is it really his lucky day? It's one of those things as simple as, I don't know. He just felt wronged, even though he really wasn't wronged. And he felt like he was entitled to more that he got.
I mean, so what we're saying is that he represents straight white men on this earth, on this planet.
Yeah. And just people that think like they know that they're lying. They know that they're lying. It's just relentless noise. And that's all that they are.
And even when he's literally living through these horrors and these science fiction, tales come to life, he's still spewing out lies and still saying it's makeup. And so he's a frustrating character to watch, obviously because of what he does to Ruby, but then how he even progresses and presents himself throughout the rest of the episode.
I mean, also to convince all your friends to do this is just wild. I mean, maybe they're not even friends. It's just this think tank bullshit of an organization. It's very like Joe Rogan-esque, like, just a weird cult following of people that I think they know that they're wrong, but they're loud and they want to just oppress people. And I don't know. He said, I think Conrad, when they were recording, he said something like he looked at Shirley and it was like, look at her. She's taking benefits. And it's like, are you kidding? Like, what? I don't know. I think the whole twist and everything like that was just so shocking that I don't know. I didn't expect them to go this far.
At first, I thought it was just a punked type show.
Right.
And so I was like, oh, that was really evil. But then as he kept talking and they brought all the cameras and they were going live and they were recording them, it was like kind of a shock to me. And I was trying to just like wrap my mind around everything that was going on.
He just was like weaponizing it.
Yeah.
And it became really just gross and, I don't know, exploitative.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I feel so bad for Ruby. Just seeing the look on. Also, can we give it up for Billy Gibson? I mean, geez Louise, like so fantastic. Just the look on her face and how it just progressively gets more devastated and just, of course, this happened to me.
Especially when it seems like she's opened herself up to someone finally. And that point that you made about Cherry and Carla of them being so excited because from the outside, they can see that she's stuck, that Ruby is not herself and she's trying to find herself. And so this seems like a moment for them to be like, oh, you're trying something new. You're getting out of your shell again. We can see a little bit of yourself. And, there's even a part when he kind of is like throwing everything in her face once everything is revealed. And he's like, oh, I had to listen to you whine and I had to listen to your stupid keyboard songs. And it's almost these things of she's opening up to someone and maybe she's finally expressing herself again through music. And he's throwing that in her face as if those are bad things.
He literally said everything that who she is annoying. And that's so devastating. That's so devastating. It's one of those things where I think, she got infatuated by him, obviously, and she was starting to fall for him, which everything we saw, okay, yeah, that makes sense. There was a meet cute, everything. I think her going on that podcast was very much like, this is a way for me to talk about the doctor because I love the doctor and is a little obsessed, right? And she's just waiting for that adventure again. But to finally have this other person, her family unit says like, oh, she hasn't talked about the doctor in like weeks. And so she's finally being able to be herself. And then she's told again that, no, whoever you are, I don't want it.
Yeah.
It's not worthy of my time. And that's all she felt with her mother abandoning her. It's so sad. It's so like, can she catch a break?
It doesn't seem like it, right? And it seems so unfair. And so, I really hope that we get to see Ruby progress and come into her own more. I think that would be unfair to us as the viewer and unfair to the character to kind of just leave her squandering. And I mean, at the end of the episode, she does regain some of the power, but there's no closure for her
Well, she
in
says
any
to,
of this.
I think she says to Kate something like, she acknowledges it. She's like, I think I need some time for me, like outside of the doctor and outside of all of this. I don't know how long she's going to get with that because we're literally, I would say, 2 episodes away from like the 2-parter finale. So good luck, Ruby. I hope you can get some time in there.
Again, I am going to harp on the fact that I believe the Doctor Who universe needs good therapists.
Mhm.
Unit needs to take some of their money out of crazy guns and they need to put it into a mental health department.
Yeah, maybe.
Right?
I think they should.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where's Rose? Where's Rose at?
And I did, I was listening for Rose. Kate says something like Mel is in Sydney tracking something.
Why?
I don't know, but it was like they were letting us know that Mel's still around.
Oh, maybe. So they are doing like a spinoff show. I believe it's still happening. I haven't heard much about it. The Land and the Sea. So I'm curious if she's going to be in some capacity involved with that. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe that's why they mentioned her.
And so kind of continuing in just this little bit of the spin-off conversation, I really feel like they planted some interesting seeds here, especially like the romance between Kate and I think it's Captain Ibrahim. So it's
I don't know, I call him Captain Arms and Face Card.
Oh yeah, he's a real hottie. But it was like they were really kind of putting some plot points into place. And we even have Shirley Ann Bingham come back. So it's like, is this going to be our unit crew for the spinoff?
I don't know. I mean, I always worry about spinoffs, right? I think Torchwood had some success with being a spinoff from Doctor Who. I worry in this current state of like streamers and stuff like that on the, I don't know, willingness and the studios trusting that it will happen, because a lot of these studios tend to be like, oh, in the first 3 episodes of the first season, it didn't capture its viewership. No, we need to pull the plug.
Mhm.
When in reality, I think if it's not like a huge, like sometimes it takes a minute for people to discover things and for it to find its audience. This is like a really weird example, but Gilmore Girls, while it was really popular when it was on, it got so extremely popular when it went on Netflix.
Mhm.
So I think that's a weird example, but I just think it takes time for like an audience to find something.
Yeah, but unfortunately, it's just now how it works now.
Right. And Doctor Who, it's always now, it's just the fan base is weird. Like people are always rooting for it to end for some weird reason. And then people always want it to continue. So I don't know. It's weird. But I always want more Doctor Who. I don't care. Like I could want something where it's literally like in Donna's garden, just talking about what's happening in the world outside of Doctor Who.
If this unit spinoff, it really seems like it would be sort of like an Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. type thing, which is hard because I think when you're watching Doctor Who, you're looking for the time travel, you're looking for the creatures, you're looking for the sort of silliness every so often. With this cast of characters that they have here, it feels like it would be a very serious show.
Yeah, I feel it could be serious. It could be, yeah. It would be very like political almost, like a political thriller. It could be supernaturally. The way that they dealt with the Shriek in this episode, I kind of liked because it showed that they had a containment unit for all of these different types of entities and creatures and stuff like that. So I think it could be interesting. I don't know how much legs it has.
Mm-hmm.
That would they would almost have to have crossovers and really spill into each other to not make people watch it, but like, why does this have to exist?
Right. Yeah. And or some, while I like Kate and the captain, I feel like we need a stronger, I don't know, character at the lead.
Then Kate, how dare you? Kate is a legend.
Sorry.
I think Kate would be, no, I agree. I think now her status is more like she comes in when shit is bad.
Mm-hmm.
And she's the person that you don't want to piss off. And she's also that legacy character. So she's definitely there, but I agree. They would have to almost fill it out almost, but I don't, I like having like headquartery type shows like that can tend to get a little repetitious. So I would be very cautious of that. I think Ruby had said something when she's talking to Conrad about stuff and she's like, well, aliens exist. We all know that when she's on the show. So it's like, yeah, the world does know aliens exist. So it's interesting to see how the world kind of perceives the Doctor Who universe.
Well, if anyone needs this spinoff, it's Ruby. That's for sure.
I would watch it. All of them.
But so my question is like, I feel like whenever I watch shows like this, I'm always wondering how much the general public know, right? And it's like the general public, they know the Doctor exists and they know that unit exists.
Yes and no. I think sometimes it does get confusing with like timelines and how much they do know because we get so little of what they know. But it's apparent that like it's not a secret to talk about these things existing. I just think it's a secret of what they can do. Because a big thing in this episode is like, imagine if like, other people got access to that time window or even time travel and stuff like that, it would be really bad. So I don't think that everybody knows about that, but they know that there's stuff. There's things that exist.
And obviously that their tax dollars are going towards it.
Yeah, which God, I like having an episode like this in this current like political climate is so stressful. It's like because before like I would love to be like this would never happen. Like imagine if a government was ran like this.
It's literally happening right now.
Yeah, so
we're living through the apocalypse.
Yeah. What did you think of Think Tank and all of them?
I got it. It's so funny. You're like, think tank, what does it mean? But it's just one of those like generally branded nonsense things that people latch onto. And so, I mean, it made sense, right? In taking kind of the truth and twisting it for conspiracy's gain. You have a charismatic, good-looking guy at the head of it who spews enough lies with enough passion, and people are going to follow it.
Look, if Ariel could fall for him and Ruby can fall for him, who's to say we can't fall for him?
And he didn't even sing in this episode.
He didn't sing. I think, they made sense. They were very annoying. But to villainize Unit in this episode and kind of put them as the bad guys was a really interesting, I don't know, side to be on, even though we're rooting for them and we know that they're not bad, right? It was just interesting to see the world and media kind of turn on them.
And there's even the comment of, Conrad is playing sort of like this everyman, this almost pauper, this look how my life has been ruined. And then Kate's like, or someone at Unit is like, he has 80,000 paid subscribers. He's super rich. Like he's lying about his mother. And so it's like, he's capitalizing on the kind of foolishness of the general public.
There's this whole thing. I don't know. I think there's some people that keep getting access and things that shouldn't get it. And it's just constantly happening. And it's very frustrating. This is like completely sideways, but it goes along with the same point. There was a recent thing coming out about the Oscar voters, right? And that, some of the Oscar voters would just press play because they need to see that they watched it, but wouldn't actually watch it. And so it's like, why are people like that continuing to get access when it's like, there's people that deserve access or just fighting get their stuff seen, but these people are just entitled to it. And it's kind of the same thing. You see all these like thumbnails on YouTube of like Doctor Who, woke, bleh, all this stuff. And it's like, why are those things getting hundreds and thousands of views and people are paying them for this, even though they're just hate watching it? It's like, turn the channel on them, silence that noise. Like we need to just like stop it.
Yeah, I don't understand it either. And I don't know, it's something to be said of like the squeaky gear gets the oil. Someone yelling just foolishness as loudly as possible seems to get more love and more views than people, having an intelligent conversation about a property.
I mean, it's not even that. It's, listen to us, not them. It's sorry. That was like a weird soapboxy moment, but I think this episode plays into that, right? It plays into the just how much people can get influenced just to jump on a bandwagon, which is stupid. They all know they're lying. So let's talk about the ending here. I did think it was a cool detail that, remember when the Doctor first meets Belinda and he's like, "Oh, your name is Belinda. I was told about you already." We find out that's Conrad. Conrad is the one that kind of dropped that hint. But so like the final showdown on Unit, which I thought was crazy, because Kate almost went too far. Like I don't know how far she was going to let that go because she didn't give Ruby the thing to shock the Shriek. Like, how far was Kate going to let this go?
I wanted her to let it go all the way.
No, you can't stoop to that level, though. That's dangerous.
I don't know.
And it was live streamed.
And then they could have seen that, but then they would have said it was fake, whatever. I know. But, when there's a character as infuriating as Conrad, you want them to come to their ultimate end. Because as we see, because he didn't come to his ultimate end, now he's able to create more trouble.
Mm.
And so I kind of wanted Kate. I see how angry Kate was. I see how frustrated she was, and it's that annoying thing of like, well, when they go low, we go high. It's like, well, sometimes we want to go low too.
No, yeah. I mean, I don't even think it's about going low. I just think it's about, no, these are consequences to
murder.
Yeah. And you deserve to get eaten by a shriek.
Yeah.
You were given the antidote. You didn't take it.
Kill him.
Yeah. I think the ending was fine, right? I was worried that Kate was going to go too far. Maybe there's going to be some consequences with that later on. But what I really liked about the end of this episode is after Conrad has his arm reattached with some technology, he's in his cell and the doctor kind of like summons him into the TARDIS. I just love the idea of the doctor always having tabs on his companions whenever they get wronged. So like if somebody's really rude to them, does he do this? He's like, you don't ever.
You hurt my friend. Yeah, even like a nasty barista.
Yeah.
He'll bring them into the TARDIS and give them what for.
No.
Absolutely.
But this, oh my, I think this is the first time we've really seen the Ncuti like do the not dark side, but the scary side of the Doctor. It was hinted at a little bit in the beginning of the season, but his like full on, this is a Doctor speech. I love a Doctor speech. All the Doctors, incarnations of the Doctors have their speech moments. And this was one of them for Ncuti that's going to be like up there.
And I think that this moment is really powerful on a number of levels, right? We have this like white incel guy, and then we have this black queer doctor, really standing in front of him and giving him what for. And, you want Conrad to listen. And I think Conrad is scared, but obviously not scared enough.
No, he's not scared enough. And I just, some of the things that the Doctor says here is just saying that like, I fight for everyday people that just want to exist. And then you come in here with this noise, this relentless noise. You're nothing. You're ash in the wind. Like just completely like putting it in his face. Like what you're doing is not worth it. And it's nothing. And like, I think it's, what does he say in here? He says something like, he's like, I have all the time in the universe and energy to spend. And I was like, oh, yes, he does. Yeah.
Got him.
It's so good. But then to have Conrad just say, I don't accept your reality is also just so frustrating on like just a base level of like, you can't make up a reality.
But that's how easy it is.
I know.
That's how easy it is. You could literally show someone in black and white. You can be the living person saying, I exist, I'm real, I'm here. And they go, I don't believe it.
Oh my God.
Welcome to our life.
God, it's so infuriating. But to have the Doctor go as like dark as like you're going to die in the cell at the age of 49 when your heart gives out in the same exact cell, lonely, unloved.
See, but us as foolish viewers, we think, well, he's going to be in that specific cell he's in. But I think, unfortunately, he's not going to be in that cell.
I don't know. He might. You never know. Maybe things get reversed and he gets put back in there. But having Mrs. Flood come to Conrad and call herself the governor, which I think that's just what she's calling herself then and there. But her saying it's bigger isn't like it's bigger, not bigger on the inside. She says something on the inside, it's bigger. She says it weirdly. But so does that mean that she's been inside the TARDIS?
I think that it's feeling more and more to me like she is another spurned companion of the Doctor.
I hope it's not.
Because remember, in the first season, the second it landed, she knew exactly what it was. And she told Ruby to go for it.
The weird thing is that she didn't recognize it at first. And then when we saw her again with it, then she was like, you've never seen a TARDIS? Because when she first sees it, she's like, oh, what is this?
Okay. Ultimate hypothesis.
Uh-huh.
That's Ruby.
No. No. We've seen Ruby, though, when she's older. She doesn't look anything like Mrs. Flood. I'm still on the side of maybe it's his child. It just kind of almost makes sense. Like maybe it just took the TARDIS being close to like reignite some of those memories. I don't know. There's so many theories out there with Mrs. Flood, but why is she like gathering people that were beaten or scorned or I don't know, the Doctor has defeated? Why is she gathering them?
Because they got a chip on their shoulders, baby. They want to get revenge.
Yeah, there's a lot of man.
And you know what? I hope it's something like what we're talking about, because I think I would be frustrated if it was like, she's just another god. Like, oh.
I think we need to be prepared for that, though.
Mm.
Or just like she's a Time Lord. There's been theories out there that she might be a like certain Time Lord, which I'm not going to say if you don't want to get spoiled, but I don't know. Who knows? Also, could she possibly be the Master? There's too many theories, but I really like that they're going more and more with Mrs. Flood in this season. And we obviously can see that she can time travel in some sort of way. So is she connected to the TARDIS or what? Does she have her own TARDIS? So I guess we'll see. But man, I will say I missed Ruby. I really did. That scene in the pub when that guy was like, "Who put you in charge?" She's like, "Why don't you go get some fresh air? How about that?"
Yeah.
Oh, I missed her. And then her explaining to Conrad how the shriek works and just that whole scene of like, the lights flickering and getting dark. Ah, so good. So good. I really like this episode. I missed the Doctor and I missed our story that we were on, but it was a nice little pit stop.
I miss Belinda, so I'm looking forward to this next episode with more Belinda and more Doctor.
I am curious if we're going to see the Rogue. I know this is sideways, but I'm just trying to see, like, we have some strings that are kind of hanging from the first season. And I'm just curious if we're going to get some Rogue stuff or if that's going to be like a future thing. But
another spinoff.
Yeah. When do all of our characters meet?
We shall see.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, so we have episode 5 next week.
Let us know what you thought of this episode and if you thought it was the Doctor's lucky day. Surely wasn't Ruby's.
I think it was just Conrad's. I think just the bad person got the lucky day every time.
That's always the way it works.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're going to go cry now.
Bye.
Bye.